Hey everybody, welcome to the Blue Abroad Show. Monday evening, very calm and collected, no disappointment on the weekend other than not watching our boys play finals footy. It's good to have you here. It's my favourite night of the week to get things started, and I've got a guest who's making her debut on the channel, Kylie Mumby. Hello.
Hello. Bit nervous about all this stuff.
Nah, don't be nervous. You'll before you know it, it'll be over, and you'll get nice and comfortable. Thanks so much for joining. I really appreciate it. This is going to be fun tonight.
Cool. Looking forward to it.
Yeah. Tell me what's happening in your world, in your footy world. What's happening
in my footy world? There's not a lot happening because my team's not playing finals.
Amen. Is it one of those things where you all like? I mean, I don't know. I'm not sure if everyone feels the same way when you watch finals footy. Do you you love it because it's a good game of footy and you love the sport, but then you just can't help but get pissed off every few moments because you're like, oh gosh, we're not here, or we're so far away from doing that.
Especially the Saturday night game. It was so good. It was so intense.
Yeah.
I just kept thinking if that was Carlton, I'd probably be having a heart attack right now.
Well, that's the thing, right? So we get very worked up as supporters because we're very passionate. We're not even playing finals footy yet. Can you imagine the nerves and maybe not the disappointment, but just the stress and the anxiety levels?
Yeah, off the Richter scale.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. Well, look, we're going to do a bit of a season review tonight, but more so yourself and the fans in the chat. I've done mine, so I'm happy to take a back seat and just listen and observe and have a chat about it. Not so much news popped up this week, which I think was a good thing because last week was a bit too much. It was chaos, as it always is.
Yeah, I felt like it was completely over the top, off the charts, given that Carlton's not playing finals, yet we seem to be 95% hogging the media.
Welcome to showbiz. This is what it is, the Carlton Football Club.
Can you imagine what it's actually going to be like when we're winning?
Well, no, because I've never experienced it. I have no idea what that would be like.
Well, I don't think any of us can say that we've experienced Carlton winning through a successful period with the current media streams and how football gets covered.
Absolutely, especially since we entered the social media age of coverage. I think 2011 was still very early days for Twitter and YouTube and whatnot relating to the AFL, but the melting pot that we have now, there's so much going on. There's so much commentary around it wherever you're looking. So yeah, it's interesting.
Yeah, it'll just blow the socks off everything.
I can't wait. Well, what we're going to do is we're going to run a little intro. I'm going to make some thank yous and we're going to get stuck right into it. So stand by.
What's going on? Fucking today!
Martin's been very impressive every single time.
Thanks to all the Carlton supporters, thank you for all the love.
Nations playing Glasgow, and there's a magic moment. Ball inside 50, control! He strikes it beautifully. He's got it.
Now we can start the show. Gets the juices flowing. Before we do that, the members of the channel, the paid up members, your names are all scrolling across the bottom here. I want to thank you very much for your contribution. You allow investments in the channel to happen. You allow the studio to grow. It's coming along nicely. I'm looking at it now and I can't really believe what's here. This used to be nothing. Not that you all can see it, but I'm going to show you a video soon. So thank you very much. If you are interested in becoming a member, there is a join button next to the subscribe button on YouTube. If that's what you want to do. Basically, you're just contributing to the channel to help it grow and call it a donation. So thank you very much for that. Kylie, let's begin. Let's start with the footy. Let's start with what we saw before we get into our group. What did you make of the two games that you saw on the weekend?
Friday night I could quite happily live without.
Yeah.
There was nothing. It gave me nothing Friday night. If we could have Saturday night football all the time, well, I suppose we'd say it's too much all the time. But Saturday night is finals football.
Yeah, absolutely.
The the close finish. That's the best.
Yeah. Yeah, the doggies. I was talking to the Almost Blues Brothers podcast yesterday, and we were talking about the doggies. I mean, I think it was probably the best final I've seen. That's not a granny, probably since the doggies played the Giants in that prelim a few years ago when they won the flag. It was phenomenal.
They're building that same momentum, I reckon.
You think so? Well, they've come good at Well, they finished the season with, I think they finished with a couple of losses, but yeah, they seem to be building at the right time now. Really, this is when you want to be in form.
Yeah, and I don't like this whole bye business that we're going to have before the grand final. I feel like teams do get on a roll. So the more footy you're playing at the moment, you just continue to roll on through to the grand final. Whether that whole bye thing is going to impact, especially like if Melbourne and Port both win this weekend coming, that means they're then going to have another weekend off. Don't know. Most AFL players will say they just like to roll on, keep it going.
Yeah, I mean, I think the only person I can think that it would benefit is just a few individuals like Bontempelli, if the Dogs are to make it through. Cody Waitman as well, probably. But I think it's a bit weird having a week off before a granny. I think that's the build, isn't it? Like you want to go a prelim into a granny. That's when that's what the body's ready to do.
Well, how good was it going from round 23 straight into the finals, not having that, oh, what are we doing now this weekend? Like dead space.
Yeah.
I'm not for the bye at the end of the season, and I'm not for this bye that's coming up.
Yeah, I think also based on the current climate, things are changing rapidly day to day. You just don't know what's going to happen. Like a week in Australia at the moment is a very long time.
I know they're gloating over in WA about not having any COVID, but gee, it could blow up quickly.
Yeah, absolutely. I'll ask you and I'll ask the audience as well. Who's winning the flag?
I like the D's. But if the Dogs get through, I also like them.
Okay. What do you see about the D's? What tickles your fancy there?
I like their midfield. I like the mix they've got in their midfield. Plus Max Gawn, he could just dominate Geelong this weekend because their rucks are. Is the best way to describe their rucks, I reckon.
Yeah.
So I feel like Max Gawn and then midfield, and then they seem to have finally got their forward 50 set up right with bringing Brown in those few weeks ago. Yeah,
no, fair enough. I wouldn't be upset if the D's won the flag. I'm not going to lie. I love their song. I love what they're about. I love what they're doing. Also kind of gives me hope for what we're doing and how we can hopefully get there sooner rather than later. But I've just got a bias to Port Adelaide. I love everything about Port Adelaide. I've had the pleasure of being on the inside a little bit and meeting them all and seeing how they run and how they talk and how they operate when the cameras are not there. And so I've just got a personal bias. But yeah, I'm thinking it's going to be a Port Adelaide Melbourne granny at Optus Stadium. That's where it's going to be, right?
Totally weird.
It is what it is. Look, it sucks, but I'm happy for it to be an interstate granny, provided that Carlton are not in it. So once Carlton are in it...
If Carlton had made finals this year, I would have been filthy for not being able to go.
Yeah, probably would have tried something that would put me in jail just to get there. But, I mean...
Oh, dear. You would have been on your own there.
No, not at all. Not at all. What about the Brownlow medal? That's coming up. What are you smelling there?
Well, I'd like to think Sammy Walsh is going to be in with a fair shot, because it is, after all, a midfielder's medal. But I feel like because we didn't win enough games, that's probably going to cost him in the end. So, I feel like perhaps the Dogs might. They've got too many that will take votes off each other. Same probably with Port Adelaide with their group of mids, and the same with Melbourne, in all honesty. So half a dozen you could throw. Yeah, you could throw different names up in the air.
Yeah, I'm going with Walsh. Like, I'm just riding the train until I get disappointed.
Yep.
We've got. I'm not sure how much you're in tune with the YouTube audience, but we've got a gentleman who goes by the name of Blacker Rat, who just put a very responsible bet on. I think it was $25 just for a cheeky $77,000 collect. It was Harry Mackay-Coleman into Sam Walsh for the Brownlow, and we're going into the Brownlow medal. I think that's also why I'm kicking it on, just to give it a bit of a vibe.
Yeah, that sounds good.
Yeah.
Cheap.
Yeah.
$25 for that return.
Absolutely.
Back to him.
Very responsible, if you ask me.
Safe betting, I call it.
Yeah. Well, also on that's going to be on Sunday. We will have a watch along. Pom and I will be sitting here for every round with everyone who wants to join us. It's going to be a lot of fun. We'll have the champagne ready, the Kool-Aid ready for one last disappointment, but we'll be kicking it on. It should be fun.
It will be fun. Probably better than the actual coverage, in all honesty.
Yes. I agree. Let's talk a little bit about the season. Everyone's had their say. I haven't heard your say. You guys in the audience will have a chance to have yours as well. I'm going to ask some prompting questions to all of you and get your input. So, Kylie, on a high level, what happened?
It was disappointing. I went into the year not really actually expecting to make finals. I just felt like we had too many injuries even before round one. And in all honesty, at the moment, we need to have our best 22 on the ground week in, week out to be making inroads into making finals. So if we were to make finals this year, it would have totally been a surprise / shock to me. And I know the club came out and said, we're aiming to make finals. I didn't get hung up on it. And then they say, early season form, early season wins, get them banked. And that sort of helps you in the back end of the season when you've got tired legs, when you've got a few injuries. Well, we never got those early season wins, in all honesty. So we had nothing to bank to start with. We were coming from behind from the get-go. So I never kind of felt like finals were actually going to happen for us this year. So I wasn't hugely disappointed in not making finals, but there were several games throughout the year that I was really disappointed in. Like, tear your hair out. What the fuck are we doing?
Yeah. It's an interesting one because we never really had a run or a month or, it was when we won 2 games in a row, it was coming off, 2 losses in a row, particularly at the start of the year. And it just never got going.
They were never spectacular wins either. They were like, and you can win ugly and you can win flashy and fantastic. But even when we won ugly, they were still, really, really crappy.
Yeah.
The Hawthorn game is one. We probably really should have put them to the sword. Instead, we kind of dragged ourselves across the line and only just won, in all honesty. There was nothing spectacular about that game.
Yeah. What you said you weren't expecting us to play finals. What were you expecting this year? Was it a certain amount of wins? Like, what were you going into the year? What were you looking for?
I would have liked to have got to double digits in wins.
Yep. Excuse me.
So, to get to 9-10 wins, I think would have been an improvement. But instead, very early on in the year, it felt like we were jogging on the spot, treading water, going nowhere fast. It just a nothing year.
It was funny because I actually thought we had a patch last year. It was pretty much after we went into the 0-2 hole again, and we beat Geelong. We had a bit of a patch of form where it looked okay. We were playing some exciting footy, but we finished the year off really poorly. And at the time, it was like, oh, it's just a footy frenzy. What was it? 4 games in X amount of days and whatnot. There's a saying that goes around. You start you start games as you finish the previous one, and in a funny way, we started this season as we finished last year. Just not there. Do you put it down to one thing, or like is there something that's glaringly obvious to you with what happened this year, or is it just a combination of things?
I think it's a combination of things. I've never been able to wrap my head around any one particular reason. It's like they're hot and cold. Some weeks they turn up, other weeks they don't. Like mentally, it was hard to. You never turned on a Carlton game knowing what to expect. You know what I mean? Does that make sense?
So much
Was
sense.
the good Carlton turning up or the bad Carlton turning up?
Yeah. Yeah, it was. Yeah, it was. Did you have what was your, I might put this to the audience as well. What was let's go with your worst moment of the year, and then we'll move into the best moment. So everyone in the audience, write in the comments now, what was your worst moment of the year? And Kylie, what was yours?
I'd have to probably say the Collingwood game in round 2. That absolutely just gutted me. And then there was another game later in the year, and it's like, well, is that worse than the Collingwood game, or is the Collingwood game still the worst? I think the reality of our group of players don't handle expectation and pressure when they're more or less supposed to win. Like, they went into that Collingwood game favourites. We were supposed to, not smash Collingwood, but we were supposed to win and win comfortably.
Mm-hmm.
And time again, like the North Melbourne game, the Gold Coast game later in the year, they don't cope with the pressure of expectation. Yeah.
It's funny, you mentioned before, they seem to try and outdo themselves as the year went on. And it's like, no, that's the worst loss of the year. No, actually, that's the worst loss. And I know we lost by 95 points to Port Adelaide. So technically that is the worst loss of the year and the worst moment. But I'm with you.
The Port Adelaide game, there was no expectation for us to win that week. There wasn't an expectation that we would lose by 95 points, but we weren't expected to win that week. A, because we were travelling to Port Adelaide. B, they're, what were they, second on the ladder at the point, and we were, didn't even have a C grade team that we're putting out on the park, let alone an A grade team that we're putting out on the park. But yeah.
No, fair enough. There's quite a few people writing here the West Coast game. That was the waffle team that we lost to, and I think North Melbourne ended up beating them in Perth only a few weeks later. I'm with you with the worst moment. My worst moment was probably there's so many, but the halftime round 2 against Collingwood, because like you, I was there, and halftime I just couldn't believe that they had shown up in the manner that they did. like actually the nerve on them to do it, the disrespect that I felt personally. And that was definitely, I think, my worst moment, along with GWS away after the bye. You go into the bye, you want to regroup. All right, it hasn't been the start of the season that we wanted, but all right, second half of the season, let's come out with a statement. The Giants weren't really going too well. I know they made finals, and I know they're a good side, but just the lack of. Is it fair to say that they didn't care enough? I don't know if it was just confusion or unity or care, but the words that were coming from me were just how I felt, like they didn't care enough.
Yeah, that often gets said, that they don't care. They don't fight for the jumper. They don't care for each other at times. It's very obvious. When Stocker kicked his first goal, There was no celebration. There was no get around Stocker. Mark Pitnet went down and got bumped or knocked or something, and no one went to him, or no one went to rough up the guy that knocked him over. It happens too often, and it happens too much. There's just something not right at our club with that team.
Yeah, there isn't. We're going to get to it for sure. We're going to get. I don't know if we'll get to the bottom of it, because it's like an endless pit of, like, you keep digging, and when you find something, the next thing pops its head up. It's a fascinating situation.
And we all talk about it every week, but none of us can come up with a definitive answer.
No. What was your best moment of the year, or best win?
Best win. I'd probably say the first Freo win.
Yep.
If we could come and play like we did that day for the 3 quarters, then we would be unbeatable. It's putting 4 quarters together. But the same token, the group had, back against the wall because of such a poor performance the week before against Collingwood. Why do they have to get themselves into a position of backs against the wall like that to come out and play that way? Frustrating.
Yeah, I talk a bit about motivation, and there's that notion of you're either motivated by, fear of the shark coming to get you, or the fear of failure, or you're motivated by the carrot dangling in front of you, or whatever it is. And it seems like, for me at the moment, this group's motivated when shit hits the fan and it gets really toxic, and it gets, the pressure really gets to them, and they have to almost be lashed into for them to respond, as opposed to when everything's at level pegging. It's like they just can't start ahead. They need to be whipped into shape almost. It's so weird.
It's just not professional AFL level football.
Yeah.
Like, it's not necessarily the senior coach's job to provide an AFL player motivation week in, week out. They're supposed to be able to find their own motivation. Yeah, it does seem like they need that kick up the arse to find that passion and that will and that want to perform.
Yeah, I mean, with the coach, we'll get to it shortly, but I don't expect the coach to motivate every player every week, but I guess with the coach, you want someone that's going to sell a message that 22 of them buy into, whatever it may be, the story that they tell, whatever it is. I guess we'll never know. Maybe we'll know in 20 years when David Teague does a tell-all interview looking back on what happened, and that's when we'll really find out. But for now, it's really we're just guessing.
Oh, 100%. And we're hoping. That's all we've got.
Yeah.
And we're trusting that the people that are within the club making these decisions right now make the right decisions, because we can't afford any more stuff-ups.
No, we can't. Well, we definitely can't. Let's talk a bit about the individuals, because that's really where the positivity, I think, comes from, unfortunately. Who did you think was our most improved player this year? So I'll ask you, Kylie, and then in the meantime, everyone in the audience, please write your answers in the comments.
I would say Harry, really. Just for consistency, probably played the most games in the AFL that he's played before.
In a season, yeah.
In a season, yeah. He clearly loved Teague, because there was numerous times where he said, I want to go out and play for the coach and play for the boys today, probably when he shouldn't have. So it'll be interesting to see how he gets his head around everything that's gone on. But I would probably say big age. Sam Walsh went to another level, but like it seems a bit contradictory to say most improved when he's already, at such a high level.
Yeah, I mean, I went with Harry as well with mine, but I think we saw glimpses of quite a few others, and it depends how you grade it. If you look at a guy like Liam Stocker, who played 0 football last year and obviously came into the side this year and didn't get dropped, there's that. There's Matt Owies as well. I thought he definitely improved and got himself to a point where I'm thinking, I think he can stay in the side and hold his own. But yeah, I mean, I don't know about you. With Harry, he kicked 26 goals last year. And I thought if he can just get that to 40 plus and slowly build to a point where he's kicking 55, 60 plus a year, great. He's kicked 58 goals from 20 matches. He's averaging, 3.1 a game, whatever it is. In
a team that struggles to score most weeks.
Yeah, yeah. And the way we kick the ball to him, Kylie, oh my God. Sometimes I feel like I'm still in 2019 with Bolton and we're just bombing the ball long and high. Like it hasn't improved.
No. No. Well, it's mostly the same players in the team, so
Yeah. No, I think Harry's an interesting one, but yeah, I think this year we had quite a few more that improved as opposed to last year where we had from 2019 going into 2020, which is weird because I thought we underperformed compared to 2020 this year. But yeah, I thought the youngsters did their thing this year and did what they needed to do. And I feel like we've got a bit more of a rounded team. It's absolutely no longer the, Cripps show. And really he was the only player we were looking at for, I don't know, accolades or anything like that. Whereas we've got quite a few now, which I think is going to be, coming to our attention as we move on. But I think in the heart and the grit of the season, the frustration of the season, we're all, we haven't improved. No one's improved. It's all shit. But I think that there is a bit more of an even balance and an even spread.
I think there's a few that we probably thought at the start of the year would be lucky to still be on the list at the end of the year.
Yeah.
Whereas now I feel like they probably have earned another 12 months at least. Like Kennedy had to go back to the VFL, worked on things, and I think he's kind of cemented a spot going forward. Lockie O'Brien is exactly the kind of player we missed most of the year.
Mm-hmm.
He is a natural winger. He can run up and down the ground all day, and he can deliver the ball inside 50, how it needs to be delivered. I know there's been a lot of doubt on him. I think he's earned another 12 months. I'm not sure whether he's out of contract or not, but I think he should be persevered with.
Yeah, I mean, he's entering year 5 next year. So I think, I'm with you on that. I don't think it's a situation where it's a, give up on him. I don't know exactly if anyone's going to come and try and take him from us or anything like that. I doubt it at this stage. But I guess we'll talk a bit more about, who's staying and who's going, probably more so as trade week comes up, because we all know trade week is finals time for the Carlton fans. It's the time with the most hope.
And I would say if someone were to come in and offer something decent, the club would consider it for almost any player that's on our list.
Yeah. No, fair. Who for you who for you are you giving a bit of a tap on the shoulder and sort of a let's call it a tap of encouragement to do better next year?
I'm in two minds with Zach Fisher. I don't see him as a midfielder or a winger because of his, especially in a wing position, when he's up the ground, he gets outmarked because of his height. I like it when he's busy around the pack. How many small forwards do we need though? If Owies is coming on, Now we've got Honey that's shown a bit. I think Zach needs a bit of a rev up.
Yeah, bit of a rev up. Yeah, he's an interesting one for me because I don't see him as a forward. If anything, I see him as a winger. Now, unfortunately, every year he seems to get some sort of an injury that keeps him out for 6 to 8 weeks, and it's almost hard to catch up from there for him. I'm not sure if he's that type of player that can rely on his physical, attributes to get into games. But I think
I would even say maybe high half forward, that kind of come off the back of the square. Because I do like he does get busy around the packs. But in the actual, centre, he's, like you said, his physicality's not there.
Yeah. I've got lots, but I'm going to give one to a guy who I'm going to back in to get it done next year, and that's Will Setterfield. I don't know what happened this year. We tried to bring him into this wing role. I thought in 2020 he was the unanimous most improved player from 2019, and he really took his game to another level. He was hunting, he was tackling, he was showing us what he had, and for whatever reason, 2021 it just didn't play out the way that he probably wanted it to. But I'm not giving up on him. I still think he's going to make it, and I just think it's one of those situations where development's not linear. It's hard when you've got a Sam Walsh in the side who just gets better every year he plays, but I think Setterfield's just going through a bit of a rough patch, and he's going to get through it. I don't know if I'm just being overly optimistic, but from what I saw in 2020, I just think he's got it. Whatever it is, he just we've got to get it out of him.
Well, he needs to, I feel like with him this year, it's more mind over matter in some aspects. Like he just didn't seem to play with the urgency and the want and didn't compete at the contest.
Yeah, it was an interesting one because at the start of the year he moved into this defensive wing role, and is that just part of his development? Luke Power came on the channel a few months ago, whenever it was, and we asked him about playing players out of position, and he was saying it's important to do it because you've got to have different strings to your bow, and maybe that's just what it was for Will Setterfield. But the thing is, we tried him on the wing in 2019, and he was okay, but it was more about him getting games of footy under his belt after the knees or the knee injury.
He came good by the end of that 2019. It's like he accepted, well, this is my spot. Whereas this year, I feel like, I don't know, maybe he was a bit, I'm not, I'm back here again and I don't want to be here. Like a bit of an attitude. Bad attitude.
I think there was quite a bit of that this year. And I mean, we can talk about Samo. Did he like playing in that role? Probably not. But then you look at a guy like Liam Stocker, who I guess in his mind, as he said in that interview last week, he wanted to earn back the respect of his teammates. So he didn't care where he played. And you kind of wish everyone had that attitude at all times, not just on a comeback year,
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's amazing how some can have, like him and Weeders and Walsh can have so much of that in them. And maybe Jack to an extent as well. But the others, not so much for one reason or another. Like you don't want 22 robots, but even if some of the others had a quarter of what those boys have, we would be in a much better position.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Another one where I'll ask you and I'll ask the audience, what do you want to see this off season? Are you in the camp of we need to go and bring some players in like a Chera and the names that are being floated out, or do you think we need to look within what we've got? What do you want to see? And you guys in the audience, what do you want to see in this off season?
We probably need to, a bit like, remember Richmond did it a few years ago before they started winning flags, and they sat down and looked at each line and said, we need a player that plays in this position. We need a player that plays in that position. And then we need to go and headhunt that kind of player. Doesn't need to be a big name, but it needs to be a player. Like, we need a small defender. I'm not going to mention anyone's name, but we need someone that is a small defender.
We had a really good one. He now plays for Geelong.
Yep.
Because we didn't want to pay him.
Mind you, I'm still holding out hope that Marchie actually gets to come good.
Yeah, that'd be special. I think it's just more of a, he would be a, the way I'm looking at him, it's like a bonus.
He will be our Stewart, like Geelong.
Yeah. I just hope, for me, I'm just more hoping for him, and if he comes good and plays regular footy, it's a bonus. But I'm past the point of kind of relying on it to happen.
It would be an absolute that surprise present under the Christmas tree if he can hold his body together. Yeah.
See, I'm not down for these big contracts for players that haven't earned it. Like, I understand at the moment, Chair is the hot topic and he's the big name that's out there. And initially it was reported, and every time I hear it was reported, I always take off 100K from whatever contract is in the mainstream media. But if we're paying anywhere near 650, 700 a year for a guy that hasn't done it yet, I just think we're setting ourselves up again for what we've already done for the last 7 years. I had this thought last night. I was watching the Sir Alex Ferguson documentary, and I don't know, you might be able to shed some more light on this. I feel like we've clearly lost our identity because we are trying to shun away what happened with, the Elliott era. And yes, it was terrible, and we got caught and all of that. But I feel like we're in this no man's land, and I feel like until we reconcile with our past properly, we can't move forward. It's almost like we're trying to push it out completely. I don't know what you think about that, but it was a thought I had last night. I wanted to run it by you and see what you think.
Well,
like, who are we? What are we?
Yeah, we don't have a brand. We don't, because we've been in no man's land for so long. People like to think we're a big club, but at the moment, I feel like everyone is laughing at us, and it's just from one circus to the next. There's nothing for Carlton supporters to be crowing about at the moment. And in all honesty, you asked me what I want to see in the off season. I want to see and hear as little as possible. I want heads down, bums up. They need to work hard.
Yeah.
I'm a bit over the talk.
Oh, I feel you. On the surface level, I want whoever to come in and just let everybody know that they are nowhere near as good as what they think they are, and give them the harsh realities that they need. But there's just I don't know, like, at the moment, people, I'm 30. I'm only really holding on to what I think the club is based on what I was told from my, ancestors. That's the truth. Like, if I didn't know that we had this rich history, and if I was born, let's say, in the 2000s onwards, it's kind of like, this is just one big lie. It's not real. It's honestly, it's
a dream.
It's a dream. Like, I don't know if I'm being too pessimistic. I'll just look at us now, and I watch the finals. I'm like, we're so far off that. Who are we kidding? We think the list is there. Like, we are so far off playing with the unity, spirit, togetherness required to play, in these prelims this week.
I think we need to hit the restart button, and people probably won't agree with me, but I think we need Weeders and Walsh to be the leaders of our club and our team. And I think with those two and Stocker on the leadership, things might change around. I'm not sure Cripper is a leader. Yes, he's a very good player, but I'm not sure he's the leader of a team.
Yeah. What I'm worried about with that is I've seen it before. We did it with Murphy. We did it with Cripps. It was like, build around him. Look at him. He plays with this toughness. He plays like a captain. He tackles hard and he does all the tough stuff. And
Cripple will do that. He doesn't need to be the captain.
Maybe. I think Wiedering, the more the year went on and the more I listened to him speak in the media as well, the more I started leaning towards him. But I'm just very mindful of just constantly regurgitating these captains who just the weight of the world falls on their shoulders and they're never really the same.
Yep. And with Wieders this year, I actually started to see him, getting verbal with his teammates on the ground at times where he hadn't sort of done that in the past. And I've heard people say, well, he's too quiet. Well, again, referring back to that Luke Power interview that you did, the big takeaway that I liked from that was he spoke about players needing an on-field persona and an off-field persona, and how our boys need to develop their on-field personalities more, or their, for want of a better word, maybe their white line fever a little bit.
Yeah.
But I felt like we did see a few signs with Wieders in that area this year. Yeah.
Because like footy, like sport in general, for me, it's a platform to express and almost escape who you are and be something or someone else. And that's what I think is the beauty of sport, and especially this one, because it's so brutal and combative and, gladiatorial, I call it. And I think there is something in that. Now, that's why when we talk about the coach shortly, it's got to be someone that can get that out of them.
And not have the wool pulled over his eyes.
Well, yeah. Let's go into it. Let's do it. The coaching search. So just to recap, not that everyone watching doesn't already know, but 7 days ago, it was Ross Lyon, lock it in. Ross Lyon. I mean, Michael and I sat here talking about can't wait for Ross to walk in and tell the boys this and tell Cripps this shit and tell everyone they're nothing. And then, I don't know, my world got rocked a little bit. What was your reaction to last week? And what is your reaction to everything that's gone on with the coaching?
It's taken me a long time to get my head around having Ross Lyon as a coach. I've never been a fan.
Yep.
My mum is actually a St Kilda supporter.
Yep.
And Ross Lyon walked out on St Kilda, and my mum to this day still wants to break his legs. She cannot stand him. So I've never been a fan. I find him a bit smarmy and can be a bit of a smart ass at times, which I don't feel like you need to be, but it seems to be in his personality. I finally come around this year to realizing that our players need a Ross Lyon coaching them. Listening to Nick Riewoldt, Joey Montagna, a couple of the other ex-St Kilda boys, they love Ross Lyon. And he walked out on them.
Mm-hmm.
But they love him as a person. They love him as their coach. They respect him. No doubt there's probably some Kilda players that didn't have the same relationship as what those boys did. But I think it says a lot that those boys speak so highly of him. And they also really think he would be good for our group. So I'd kind of come around to being happy that we would get Ross Lyon because, like you said, all the talk was about Ross Lyon. We weren't getting Clarko, so the next best was Ross Lyon. Luke Sayers said we need an experienced coach. Well, there's not many of them free and available at the moment, so I'd kind of accepted the idea and was happy with it, and thought that this is what our boys needed. And then boom, we seem to have stuffed it up again.
Yeah. Well, we spoke briefly on the phone earlier today, and I believe that I don't think it's over. I think it's Because the way it's working now, you pretty much have to tell the mainstream media that you're out to stop the phone calls coming every day and the Tom Brown knocking on your front door and such things. And for me, it's just not over till it's over. I'm not ruling out anyone. I don't think anyone has definitely said no yet. Clarko's going to realise that we ain't travelling next year. He ain't going nowhere. He's not getting that holiday that he says he wants. So I don't know. For me,
I kind of sat back a little bit because there was the whole when it was announced and Twitter blew up and all the rest of it. And I was reading it but not really commenting, and had a bit of a chat with Baz, and then I sat back and I thought, is he trying to play Carlton's bluff?
probably.
A little bit like we've taken the heat out of the media, but is he actually trying to play Carlton's bluff by saying, I won't be part of the process? So if you want me, we're going to have to come to some other agreement or work some other way. And then there's, that there's a almost non-existent relationship between him and Lloyd's on the panel. A lot of question marks about that panel, mind you.
Well, yeah, let me just confirm that. So the panel is for the coach. It's Greg Williams with Tim Lincoln, Pat Kinnersley, David Parkin, Kane Little, and Brad Lloyd.
Tell me you weren't shocked when that was announced.
Why is the CEO and the head of football? I don't know why they're there. Isn't that what we are told the problem is?
When they're still not actually guaranteed to have a position going forward.
Stunning to me. Stunning. But see, also for me, in my mind, I mean, I haven't watched, I'm not too experienced in, getting the right coach, obviously. But in my mind, it might be a simple view, but don't sack Teague unless you're sure Clarkson or Ross are going to take the job. Otherwise, just reinvest in what you have. You've already had 2.5 years with Teague. Just reinvest and make him better. Unless they came to the conclusion that he was just so poor at the job that they couldn't go on with him and they got it wrong from the outset, then fair enough. But I don't know. I'd be, at this point right now, if we end up getting a coach who's never coached at AFL level and we do that again, oh my God.
We're no better than where we were.
Yeah. It's stunning to me.
It's mind-boggling. It's really hard to wrap your brain around it.
Yeah. Look, having said that, after the first 24 hours of like panic stations, which I just get caught up and I get swept up with the emotion, just because I want clarity and I want closure and it's such an important time and all of that. Then I started settling down a little bit and I started realizing, well, hang on a minute. This new president has literally done everything by the book, what he said he was going to do, made some changes. Now, whether you believe in the changes or as a fugazi or not, I guess at the end of the day, if we're going to take I'm always there for the longer option as opposed to the short-term fix. And if going through a full process is the way to go and they actually stick to it, which I think they are at this stage, then, it's going to be stressful for another month. But hopefully it's to get the right mix in.
Yeah, it just feels like we've gone from headhunting 1 or 2 people to, okay, well, all of a sudden we're doing a process. And I kind of feel like that's maybe to appease perhaps board members, perhaps members, sponsors, people in and around the club.
Yeah. Well, we are the best at PR at the Carlton Football Club. We definitely know how to make anything look good. We've actually made the last 26 years look like we've been successful if you listen to everything coming out of the club.
Yeah, it's hard to I've stopped reading most of it, stopped listening to most of it. I can't watch footy shows anymore because people are just laughing at us.
Yeah.
To come out and say that we want to make finals next year, I actually think our goal next year should be to earn the respect back of the competition and to earn our respect back.
That'd be a powerful statement if they came out and said, we want to earn our fans respect. That would be a very powerful. Well, however, you want to earn our respect, make the damn finals, for God's sake.
Well, I think if they work to earn the respect back of the competition and our respect back, well, then finals will follow.
Yeah. Oh, see, I'm not too. I like the public statement because it's more of a public statement from our president in terms of on field that I've heard for the last 7-8 years. To be honest, yeah. I never really heard Mark talk about what we want to achieve on field.
But is that a fair statement to make if we're going to end up with a first-time coach?
Well, that's why I don't think we can.
It's a lot of pressure to put on a first-time coach.
Yeah, that's why I don't think they can give it to someone that's a first-year coach unless they came out and said, "Oh, we shouldn't have put finals on the agenda like that." But I think it's too far gone. Like, and for me, so it should be. We're going to enter year 7 next year of this big reset, rebuild, this big plan that we had 5 years investing in the draft and then topping up with players and all of that. Like. So it should be finals next year. Now, that's not to say that it's going to happen, but you've got to start with your intention and you've got to speak it out there and then move accordingly. And I know we're talking about the coach and the coaching search, but the reports about Brian Cook, for me, if we can get Brian Cook and we actually do get that, that'd be a bigger fish than a coach for me. I think he's brilliant.
Yep. Can't argue with that.
And
we need I think we need a new footy manager as well.
Yeah. Need a new club, Kylie. Just a brand new one.
We're getting there slowly.
Can we start again? Like just, I don't know.
How many resets can we do?
Oh, you'd be surprised. Oh dear. I
don't know that I've got the emotional capacity to go through another reset, rebuild.
No, I'm telling you, anything. This channel is basically becoming just a documentary into the decline of the human being. Like really, it's evidence to show what the club does. We have it all on video of where they take us. But would you have it any other way? Well, yes, you would. But I guess
I hope it makes the wins so much better in the future.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. I want to take everyone's attention onto a little something that I stumbled across today. I've got a little graphic up here. Okay, so have a look at these. These are all separate. And this is the Instagram handle, Lame Attempted Art. Her name is Casey. She's 25, and she has created these prints, which I think are fantastic. After the show, give her a big surprise and give her a follow because she does some phenomenal work. I just thought I'd highlight her today. I bought a Jack Silvani print that she's created, so I'm looking forward to getting that in the mail. And it also got me thinking about some things that I'm seeing in the off season too from the youngsters, because there's a lot of young talented creators out there, and whether you're a writer, whether you're a video creator, obviously we've got Willem and Bailey, who Bailey did the season compilation. If you are interested in getting into the content world or the sports media world and you're looking for some experience, get in touch with me if you want to write articles for the site or if you want to create video highlights mixes, because I guess you need something to do in lockdown. So I'm happy to share some of that stuff, maybe here on the show as well and on the Instagram page. So we'll get that up. Kylie, it's been great having you on. That's an hour already.
Woohoo, went fast.
It did. I told you. It's the most natural conversation you can have.
Absolutely.
What's on the agenda for you this week?
I'm in my business, my clinic. I'm actually getting some new cabinetry installed tomorrow. So
okay.
While I'm technically not working, I'm getting a little bit done behind the scenes while I'm closed.
Okay. So it's a busy one ahead.
A little bit, yeah.
A little bit. Love it. Well, we've got plenty coming up on the channel the week ahead. The Almost Blues Brothers podcast, 6 a.m. tomorrow. I was their special guest this week. They asked 15 people before me, and I was just lucky enough to help them out. So check that out tomorrow morning. The Jumper Punch will be out tomorrow. We've got the individual season reviews that I'm doing for every player. They're out every day this week. As I mentioned, the Brownlow medal watch along. Pom and I are going to have a bunch of fun with that. So I'm really looking forward to that. Kylie, thanks again for coming on. I really appreciate it, and I hope to have you on some other time.
Cool. Sounds good.
All right. I'm going to play the Willem masterpiece to finish the show and bid you all a good night, and Shana Tova to our Jewish friends. And that's to celebrate Rosh Hashanah, which is the Jewish New Year. So Shana Tova, and bye from us.
Straightens up and has delivered. Is there nothing this young man can't do? Sets it up for Charlie Curnow. To Curnow. And Charlie Curnow on one step just went bang.
I don't know, man. Mate, that comment.